So I will call this meeting to order. Testing.
I think we're good. Carolyn Bowers is online as well.
Welcome, Carolyn.
She's waving. She can hear us.
Okay. Todd, do you want to check your microphone?
Howdy.
We can hear you. All right. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Thank you. Appreciate Nate with some of the last minute additions. That was helpful.
Yeah, Anne actually realized I hadn't included that email from Todd that I referenced in the memo. So thanks, Anne, for that. And then I just added that RFQ document that we talked about earlier in the week.
It was the most recent agenda that he sent today.
But I'm not seeing.
Well, it's not on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
It's just in the packet.
All right.
It's really good. Thank you, Nate, for all that work, and Lamar and everything you've done. This is wonderful.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. So do we have any additional additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this agenda?
I move to approve.
And is that a second, Anne?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, we will, that passes. So, in our new business, we want to talk about, hiring this consultant, the need for it, why, we want to do it, and what our process, is going to be. The need for it is, and Nate outlined this really well, but the need for it is, and maybe I should give everybody, especially since Lisa's not here yet, maybe I should give everybody a minute to read what's in the packet. I don't know which page or if it's even numbered. Do you have it up there?
Yeah, which the RFQ itself or the
I was
memo
thinking the memo, maybe. Have her- what makes sense to go first? Well, the memo you had up, let's just do that. Planning Commission agenda memo. If everybody wants to just kind of read through that, see if there's any questions, because it's sort of self-explanatory, but.
Yeah, I think that's really well documented. Very good.
Mike, let me know when you get through.
Okay.
So just to summarize, we don't have a professional planner. We have a part-time planner. Nate is our part-time planner, but as he mentioned to us several weeks ago, he really doesn't have training in writing land use code or code in general. So, and the rest of us certainly don't have that kind of training or experience. We have gone through a process where we used an attorney in an attempt to create this land use code, as has been mentioned by all of you many times. She has, basically what she did was cut and paste from other towns. That has not met our needs. And so what we realized is that there are professionals, consultants out there that forget the legal stuff. I mean, they know the law, but they understand writing code. That's what they do for a living. And particularly there's some out there that focus on the smaller rural towns. So they understand our needs and they understand that we're not Colorado Springs. And so
That's good.
we are, as lay people, trying to go through this code, and we will continue to do that. But we want to be able to have a consultant that can help us along the way, make sure we're not getting off track, and give us some guidance.
Mhm.
So that's the plan. If we want to take a minute to read the solicitation for quotes, we're required because of the amount of money that's going to be spent. We're required to solicit quotes. And so Nate created this document. He's got it up there as well. And
I copied that, but I didn't know.
That was a late edition if you didn't do it.
No, I got it and I apparently just didn't hit enough pages to get it.
so you can take a minute to, here, I'll hand you mine, if that's easier to read than up on the screen. Hi,
Hey, Lisa.
come on in.
Oh, there-
Absolutely.
Here, just-
Nate, now I feel like you.
I
What
don't-
meeting, what time? where-
Exactly.
Or Todd.
Lisa, we went ahead and started. And right now, everybody's reading what's up on the screen right there.
Yeah,
You've probably
just
already read it. But I just want to make sure that Mike had a chance to read it. And we have Anne on Zoom. She's running a fever again, so that's not good.
Should we ask for their experience with small towns, or do we already know that when we contact them?
In some cases, we do know, but are you through with it? Nate, is that something we want to add is their experience with smaller, more rural areas? Or are we going to kind of already know that?
We can add that. That's
Okay.
Not a bad idea.
I love it.
So
And that
basically
would be,
experience with similar projects and
Mhm.
in
Rural.
parentheses,
Small
small,
rural towns. I mean, this town, what are we? Population around here, 600 or 700 or something.
yeah, it's like, yeah, 675 or something
Yeah.
like that.
I'd mention that.
Okay.
And then I think you said it, but have we emphasized that we want to simplify it?
Yes, that's in our, his second sentence at the top. And I
Okay.
always like to highlight what our goals are here. And the first thing he mentioned was simplicity, process improvement, and enforceability. And he
Okay.
made reference to the comprehensive plan, and that is our guide.
I'm gonna
Those,
Send them a copy of that.
Mhm.
he had a link to it
Okay.
in his,
Yeah, the link is there in this document itself, and then probably I would send along with this probably a copy of the working document that we're going through right now. I don't know if it's one of the planners I talked to said that probably wouldn't be too helpful to go backwards and have them review the whole history or the current code or anything, but look at the document we're working through right now, just so they can get a sense of what we've been doing. I will say simplicity is definitely good, but I've also noticed that our code doesn't cover some of the situations that we're likely to run into. For instance, there's a lot of well, not a lot, but I anticipate more of these, but I'm dealing with two situations right now where there needs to be a lot line adjustment between two parcels. And whereas, for instance, the county, El Paso County has a specific process defined for that specific situation, we don't have that. So that means that you have to essentially treat it as a minor subdivision, which is way more complicated than it needs to be. So sometimes simplicity is actually adding things to take care of situations that aren't accounted for.
to make them more
To make
simple
it-
to deal with.
Right, to make it easier and simpler for the customer and staff alike. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. So there might be a few of those things where just from me researching, what how the county handles things is a good, because the county deals with essentially rural areas a lot,
Mhm.
some of the time. So I think the county would be a good kind of measuring stick in terms of the different types of scenarios that we should account for moving forward. So.
And I just want to mention my thought process and rationale with working with this consultant. I just come from a business background where I'm very frugal. And although we have grant money and there are funds provided, I want us to use them very judiciously. And we don't have to use them all, even though they're there. And I don't want to overuse this consultant's time. So we will probably work our way through it the first time that we meet with them. But I think you were going to mention maybe a general idea of how much we plan to use them or how often. We talked about that a little bit in our meeting, that they can certainly attend by Zoom rather than us paying for travel expenses. And that we may want to just, if they can give us some guidance, we can run on our own, present it, and then they can maybe make suggestions rather than them sitting through our laborious sessions and paying them to sit there and do that.
Right. And I think, like they are going to have to look at what we've done, the person that we hire, and then say, okay, you guys need to look at this and with this and this in mind, and then get back, give us homework to do or simplify it. I think that would be good.
Yeah, I could stress somewhere in here, this middle paragraph was kind of the expectations, I guess, of a consultant's role, but I could stress that we don't want to start all over. We want to have someone jump in and just kind of guide us to the finish line. Stress that part of it. And using remote technology as much as possible to keep travel costs to a minimum, which I say here, but
Yes.
I think the way it's stated, review the final version. I mean,
Okay,
I don't think you need
I
to.
don't want to make it too cumbersome either, but
And whatever it takes to do that, if they need to meet with us, fine, we'll figure it out. But
Mhm. Well, and that's kind of my last bullet. I was going for that at the bottom here, just kind of a summary of how they would view their response to this, and what their process would, their suggested process would be, I guess. So that would give us a sense of, okay, this person may be trying to do too much, or versus someone that responds in a way that's more similar to how you all are thinking about it, kind of thing. So I don't know.
And as far as the money goes, do you just put it out there like that? I mean, is that the way, or do you let
I-
them approach you?
could
It
we
was
do
suggested.
could we do a range maybe instead of just the flat 25?
Well, I said not to
Ridiculous.
exceed, so I could do a range. I could say that. But one of the people I talked to highly suggested putting in a budget, just
Yeah.
because
They may not be interested.
if someone's not, and we don't want to,
Waste time.
mislead or waste time. Anne has her hand raised here.
Ann, let's, how do I view Ann? I don't.
Oh, I'm
okay.
sorry. Let me move the screen over here.
Yes, Ann.
I was just saying too, all that we want them to do would be where it says answer critical questions. I would say something, help us interpret if we have concerns, help us interpret some of this that's so complicated.
Yeah, I think that's included.
Mhm.
Included.
Critical
Yeah.
doesn't quite critical or concerns or
Maybe, make,
maybe
code, questions more easily understood or something. I don't know.
well
I mean, we
maybe
could
Or
interpret.
educate
as-
staff, that's their specialty.
Mhm.
educate, I
Right.
mean, not staff, us, I mean, the board.
Critical is, maybe that covers it, as we discussed. If I have worries about what the consequences would be, I can ask.
Absolutely. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so tonight, what we're trying to do is put together this process with the additions that have been suggested, including making sure they have experience with small rural towns and help them understand our population size. Maybe send the document that we've been working on. With those adjustments to his letter here soliciting quotes. After he sends this out, we will have responses and quotes, obviously. When we're spending this much money, the town requires that we get 3 quotes. I don't know, we aren't in control of whether or not they send quotes back, but if we send this RFP out to at least 3 and maybe only one person responds, can we move forward or we have to get 3 quotes? back.
I think we could move forward. I know that on other projects, large construction projects, we've only had one response and we've moved forward on those. So
Okay.
I have a list of about, I think, 5 that I would send, 5 or 6 that I would send to. I spoke to 2 kind of principal people of the firms and then kind of a couple of other, staff that weren't really the experts, but I have a couple of responses that I need to follow up on. So basically, yeah, I would send out to a list of 5 or 6 that I got off the Colorado APA site. One of them was the one that Lisa recommended and or found, and another one that was actually recommended by Nina. Those are the 2 that I spoke to directly at length, just to get some feedback on the idea of what we're trying to do.
Did you
So
get an idea of what they charge typically?
there's kind of an hourly rate. It's kind of in the 125 to 150 range typically is what I'm seeing. So
So let's see,
It's
how many
not-
thousands? That's 25,000, that's a lot of hours.
yeah, but sometimes they will, they could come back and say, we would do this on an hourly basis. And that's something we could specify too. We could say, if,
Flat fee,
do we
maybe.
want to request specifically that they quote a flat fee for the project, or do we want them to just say what the hourly
I
rate
think
is?
hourly would give us more leeway, more flexibility.
True.
It's
True.
$125 an hour, that's 200 hours.
Mhm.
That's a lot.
I want to keep a little bit of powder dry so that once we've worked with the public, worked with the BOT,
Oh, all that,
if
yeah.
we have to
Mhm.
come back and do anything else, and again, all
Mhm.
this has to be done before the end of December. I want to have some dry powder in case we need to spend a little more money
Mhm.
to address whatever concerns come
Mhm.
up at that time. So I don't know if you need to include that in the letter.
Well, I think it's just important to say, I guess, how we want it quoted. Do we want it quoted on
To
an
the
hour?
finish line,
Oh.
December 31.
But I mean, on an
I'd say
hourly
to keep
or
them from padding it, I'd say an hourly rate.
hourly rate?
Because
We have more
they have no
control.
idea how long this is going to take. And if they are required to quote us a price, they're going to pad it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I'd
so
say
hourly.
hourly rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bill us monthly or something like that.
Okay.
Nick, or Nate, can you clarify the whatever, the RFQs, the RF, whatever, what does that stand for?
Request for quotes.
Oh, thank you.
So basically in our purchasing policy, if
It
something's
doesn't say,
We
Yeah,
used to use
get it.
request for
Okay, thank
proposal.
you.
That's the same thing, right?
request for proposals is a more
Okay.
complicated thing for things above $25,000.
just,
That's why I
Weird.
kept the limit to 25. So
mhm.
I think that's a realistic amount. I mean, and like I said in here, we could add a range so that they understand that we're not just gonna shell out $25,000 or whatever.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to say, because we truly don't know and they truly don't know really
Right.
how long it's
Mhm.
gonna take.
Mhm.
So, we could say 10 to 25,000. I mean,
And
you could
hopefully
give a
we're
huge range.
hiring somebody honest. That's the whole idea. It's
Yeah.
not gonna
That
Those
they
are the
may
other
have,
departments.
That's part of our job, is to manage
Mhm.
this process and manage them. And if
Mhm.
we're not getting what we need, or they're, and again, we know how long they've spent, unless, partially they're doing it in their office, I guess. But, do we have enough of a plan here that somebody can, make a motion that this is what we're going to do, and, get this passed tonight, and, let Nate move forward? Is there anything else we need to add to our plan?
Yeah, something I just noticed, you need a deadline for your proposal response.
Thank you. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so what would be realistic? I would like it strategically before another board meeting. I don't know if the
Yes.
board's meeting on the 16th. Do you know? Right, that's pretty too quick, I would say, but do you expect the board would meet on the? Okay.
On
So
the 16th.
most likely the board would meet on the 16th, so
And we'll meet on the 9th. So it's kind of like we need to make our decision and have a recommendation ready to go for the 16th, correct?
So if we
that's
could get
good,
those
yeah.
out,
ideally, we could say,
Why don't you say the
Nice.
8th and see if we can get them by
let's see
then?
if the 8th would work.
That'd
And
be
if-
good. Mhm.
Because I don't want to get any more behind on this. And one other thing I'd love to know from them is, when can they start?
Right, okay.
he says start immediately, but.
But yeah,
consultant
it's
should
good
be
to
available to
clarify.
engage immediately.
I've got a concern that this thing is way too complicated, and maybe I got a naive view of the world, but almost all of our lots are occupied. I can't imagine we're gonna have a whole lot of new businesses coming in, or condominiums, or all those things. Do we really need what we're doing here, as complicated as it is, and covering as many different things as it covers?
I think we're striking out a lot of
Yeah.
things, but in terms of the way people want to develop even residential lots and combine lots and change lot lines and
Yeah, that kind of stuff I can
That
see.
all
but boy,
needs
there's
to
a
be-
lot of things in there I can't even imagine ever happening in this town.
right, and I think we're going through and striking that stuff.
That's our goal.
Yeah,
All right.
That is our goal to do.
And-
Maybe it will. I don't know, but I just
yeah,
just can't see it.
yeah.
So our deadline is to get this back to you by the 8th.
Yeah, I'll do that, and I can, yeah, I can send all this out tomorrow, so that would, wouldn't leave a lot of time, but if they had a full week next week to
Yeah. I
look
think
at
that's
it, I
okay.
think
It's a week and a half.
You're
That's
gonna send them our
reasonable.
marked up copy, is that right?
Yeah, I'll include the marked up
Yeah.
working a PDF version of it, assuming it should show
I'm afraid to
everything.
show it to.
Well,
I know,
It's
yeah.
on our it's on our website though,
Right,
right?
it's in this.
And
Yeah.
you know what, if you look at all the towns, you can look at all their codes, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we ready for a motion and a second to move forward on this?
Yeah, I'll move.
Okay, Mike has moved. Do I have a second?
I second.
We have a
And the motion is.
And the
recommend
motion
hiring of a
is,
Planning consultant, it says written here,
uh,
based on the process that we've discussed today.
yes,
And then, yeah,
and this will be our process for choosing the person, and we will plan to hopefully be able to choose them at our next meeting on the 9th.
and then recommend that up to the
And-
board
and
of
to the
trustees.
board.
Okay,
So that they can approve it,
Yeah.
hopefully the following week.
Yeah.
That'd be
So-
great.
I
Yeah.
could detail a little bit of our timeline for them as well.
Okay.
Does this have to be approved by the board of trustees?
Mhm.
Contract, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so we've got a motion, we've got a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone
Aye.
opposed? The
Nope.
motion passes, so we have our process put together. I just wanted to real quickly be sure that everyone's aware of the report that was sent to the Kirkpatrick Family Fund, since this was an issue we've talked about previously. It's included in the packet. Todd primarily wrote this with a little bit of collaboration from me. So I think it's it makes it pretty clear where we are and where we're going. So,
Did we receive a reply or you haven't sent it?
No, it's been sent. There was basically no direct reply.
Okay.
I did also at a later time kind of send the dollar range that Nate had kind of specified for them to kind of ballpark how much we may be coming to them for.
Okay.
Is this the July 15th?
which may have changed.
yes.
Oh, may have changed.
But that's fine. I did talk with Jesse Monday before we met, and I just wanted to clarify what expectations may be out there from their point of view. And he just basically said that their goal is to have code that's enforceable, because that was the major frustration. So so that was really what we talked about, and I do have access to the grant site at this time, and I'm kind of I'll submit an initial request just to get that process flowing to get basically paid for some of the expenses that the town has spent so far. So I
Well,
think we'll
And that issue is certainly an interesting topic. I know from looking at what a lot of other towns do and really what our town code is, a lot of this is supposed to be enforced by the marshal. And I don't know, what the job description looks like for the marshal and if in fact we are enforcing our code through the marshal, but that's how it's supposed to work. And I don't know if we need to write that into our code that that's who is enforcing it, since that's a big issue for the Kirkpatrick Fund.
We've talked a little bit administratively just about the process, which would be in general, if something's brought to staff's attention, basically the clerk would send a letter out to the person or go there, but probably send a letter just as a
Mhm.
certified thing or whatever. And then if there's no response or no fixing of the issue, at that point, it would be turned over to the marshal to cite, basically. And we've had our first court, court is quarterly. There wasn't court for a little while there, but we had our first court last month, June. Yeah. First Wednesday of, wait, what is it? Does that make sense? I don't know. But anyway, it's quarterly. And so anyway, we got that process reestablished. And so I think the main thing is defining penalties, which is, from what I've read from our code, I think it's usually, maybe it should be defined in the land use code, but I think that it's kind of been referenced as see this other section of the penalties. But I think that we could establish,
Generally
Penalty.
penalties fall under an earlier section in the municipal code. I think some of them are up to close to $2,500 a day in jail,
Mhm.
but we typically are not going to pursue jail. We'll
and I
probably pursue
think
fines.
the town doesn't really want to deal with jail at all. So
Well, that comes full circle to, we need something that's enforceable.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
therefore
Yeah.
we need something that the town will do and that
Mhm.
is reasonable.
Right.
And is that our responsibility, since that's what the Kirkpatrick Fund is paying for? Or is it somebody else to deal with the municipal code?
We
I
need to make
remember
sure that
a long
the-
time,
Just a minute, and we've got Todd speaking.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that with the code that we have in the land use is enforceable. For example, Fire Mitigation Committee is proposing a change to our municipal code having to deal with the definition of nuisance trees. Because right now the definition almost requires an arborist to be able to make the call. And so having something that is fairly simple for someone to basically go see, especially on a drive-by from a right-of-way, that's the ideal situation.
Okay, Ann, did you have a question?
well, I was just going to say that I do know it's been a while back, but when Chris Frandina enforced the code, she would just come up and tell somebody that, and then it'd be like a cease and desist order.
Right. Well, she
And-
did a really good job of that, but we
And-
want to do a good job of what we're doing. So again, my question is,
Well, whatever you
do we
say.
need to have some enforcement pieces in this? Or is there enough in the municipal code that works?
It-
Lisa?
So when I was reading through the code and other codes, it is defined in the codes. I mean, that
Yeah.
this such and such and such and such will happen. But I think Todd's right. I think just basically, we're not going to be the enforcers, but we need to simplify, put this in a language so that it's interpretable and people understand. And then that's how we're going to be able to enforce it.
Did
So
you
Does that make
that's
sense?
true,
On
but,
that level.
but what do I
you're-
tell the Kirkpatrick Fund about? We wrote all this code, but the town's municipal codes are such that no one wants to enforce it. They're unenforceable. That we haven't gotten there. If
Maybe-
that's where we are.
Maybe we can check with our
Yeah.
consultant and
If
see.
I
if
think the
anything,
consultant would have an idea.
and consultant probably have
idea.
an idea. And,
Mhm.
I want us to keep that in our
Yeah,
forefront.
I understand.
again, I think we may have to have a section in the land use that refers to an enforcement section that is, something that is,
Consequences, right?
yeah, something that's probably a little bit more realistic than $2,500 a day and or jail. There is there's been something else that's come up and we're kind of reviewing. And there is a section under section 6, I believe, where it comes up and it's like 400 and some odd dollars a day. But then it also gives the town the ability to go in and do something and bill
Mhm.
the resident, the property.
And that's
owner.
what makes sense to me with a lot of this code. But regardless, at the end of the day, we're going to need something that's enforceable, whether it's in hand with our municipal codes or whether we add something ourselves to make it enforceable, because that is the Kirkpatrick's Fund really only request, and they're paying for it.
And it could be something just as simple as violations under this article shall be enforced with either a fine or where we go in, the town does it and bills the property owner later.
Okay, because we don't need to waste their money or our time if this truly isn't something that's enforceable. So, all right, let's
Can I
move.
say-
Yes, ma'am.
And the goal for enforcement is correcting the problem or correcting the deficiency, as you're saying. So then that's what's going to happen. It's not to charge people a bunch of money.
We're not trying to make money off of this.
Okay.
This is just, I mean, if you don't enforce things, it's sort of like our parking situation. If you don't enforce it, you're going to continue to have a problem and people will assume the code means nothing. So. All right, so as much as we do not want to do it, it's now time to begin going through where we left off with our code this evening. And I want to say it's page 105, but what do you have? Nate?
I think we're on page 15 of,
Yeah, page 15 /
94.
105.
Yeah.
That's what I had on my notes.
Yep, that's what.
yeah, we kind of ended at the end of this table
End
here.
of that table.
Page
Yep.
15,
So
Oh,
then we have,
So did we finished the end of the table? Did we do 12/3/30? Did we do the group homes and all that stuff?
no, we were just talking about this table and that was it.
Oh, goody. Okay, all
So I
right.
think a lot of this next section is, it coincides with the uses and some of the uses, we've eliminated, although there's not very many here. So I guess,
The code that I have, the on page 13, our chart, we still have all these group homes, large, small, blah, blah, blah. I don't
Yeah.
show that we got rid of any of those.
true.
What is a large group home?
I love you.
There it is. There's the definition right here.
Where?
Oh, it's not the definition, but
We used to have one. It was called the Ark.
Yeah, she's right.
yeah. Which
Wasn't
by
that,
all accounts was not
wasn't
a,
that for
positive
therapy or something for addiction?
it was a juvenile home for, I think it was all female, if I remember, or the one across the road where the big shooting gallery church is. There was a men's home or a boys home over there and a girls home over here or something. So it was a, yeah, basically a juvenile.
Yeah, that's what that was built for originally, across the road.
Mhm.
Didn't work out.
So where's?
What I marked up there is just a grammatical mistake.
Must meet, you know.
What's the, I can't find the definitions. What's the difference between a large and a small? Is it the number of people living there?
Yeah, let me see if, again, we're trying to think what's. the
Definitions
best.
different page.
Yeah, the state has requirements, I think.
Just,
Group home large, a residential dwelling or facility where more than 8 persons, including staff, live as a single housekeeping unit, providing care, supervision, and treatment for the exclusive use of citizens protected by the provisions of the Federal Fair Housing Act amendments of 1988 as defined by that act.
Okay, we
Blah,
had,
blah, blah.
we had
We-
crossed out all those definitions and we
Well,
crossed
we-
out group home small, we crossed out group home large.
Mhm.
When we started this project.
That-
The continuing care retirement facility, we crossed that one out as well. The family childcare home, we crossed out.
Right.
So I guess we have to revisit this and say, are we going to get rid of these definitions? And therefore go back to our
We
chart?
do. we
And
do.
also on page 15, are we going to continue to keep these? Those would just be the question.
We do have a group home for little disabled children. Tiny ones, you know, the
They're
baby.
what, 5? 4 or 5?
yeah, is it a business?
It's,
I think it's foster
It's-
care.
it's foster, well, yes, it's children who've been abandoned that are disabled. And they're taking care of them. The government helps pay.
Yeah, if it's foster care, it would not be a business. It would just be those people's home and that's what they're doing.
But I think they're being paid.
It does
Of
say a
course.
residential dwelling here.
It's, yeah.
Well, all foster parents are paid to reimburse their expenses. Lisa?
So I have a suggestion. As we hit these hurdles that we don't understand, let's move on and let's go ahead and flag this as we need assistance. This is what we need help from a consultant about. Does that make sense?
It does. I just don't want us to flag everything and not do anything, but I don't mind doing that. The question will be, keep it or not, and
Right.
whatever decision we make, we have to deal with it on page 93
Correct.
with our definitions
That's correct.
to be consistent, and page
Right. And then the chart.
13
Uh-huh.
with our chart. What's the feeling? I mean, do we have an opinion here? Keep it or don't?
I don't know enough about it. I don't feel informed.
Mike, opinion?
Well, this is just one of those things I can't see happening, but maybe it will. I mean,
Large, I think large, no, I don't think that's an alignment with our,
my wife's thinking about having a place where she could have unwed mothers and pregnant teens and
Mhm.
get them through their tough spots so they don't have to go have an abortion. But I suppose that would be defined as a small group home,
Depending on how many,
depending on.
Eight.
Eight,
has.
right, 8 or less
I
less
mean,
than
we
8.
looked at a place in Park that would have held 8, but I don't think we're going to do that.
well, that's a good example.
Mhm.
Anne, opinion on this?
Well, I was gonna say, if you take it out, it can always be approved by ordinance when the question arises later.
Yeah. Let's go with the consultant, but I'm marking it
Mhm.
that we need to check with the consultant on this.
Right, if these are less common occurrences, then we don't need to add them into the body. Would that be
That's right.
document? Is that what you're saying, Ann?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think that's fine because it's sort of unusual. Okay.
Okay, page 16, we're into the bed and breakfast. Well, wait a second. We got our daycare center at the bottom of page 15 and on the top of page 16. I think that's something that certainly could happen here and maybe already is happening here. And, you know, when we went all through all this earlier, we didn't get rid of any of it. So that's what we thought last 2 weeks ago. We kept it.
Well, we say that daycare centers should comply with all applicable state codes. Wouldn't that cover it?
It seems to me.
Mhm.
Do we care about their off-street parking or the drop-off pickup area?
I just think
Or
we're
just
worried about
leave it at the
people's
state
safety.
codes and keep number 3?
Well, that would be a business. And can't we have something that kind of lumps all the different parking restrictions and stuff to businesses together?
The
Are we
problem
gonna
with the
define
parking
every
restrictions,
different-
some places have no parking at all and others
Right.
have some. And so
Right, but we,
how are we gonna find something that applies to this town?
so maybe the parking isn't, so, I mean,
It's
we're
for
not gonna,
future development. It's not for what exists now. But if someone came in here and wanted to build a daycare center, we wouldn't want them to be reliant on street parking.
But what
you
if
know, that's
they
the-
were putting a daycare center in an existing home that doesn't have any parking out in front? We just tell them they can't do it.
That would be a change of use. They wouldn't be able to do that. Plus it's I mean, and then that goes back to the chart. Do we allow daycare
Or
in a
adult
in a
daycare.
home.
in a residential zone or not? So everything's intertwined here
What
to,
did we say on our chart about
Permitted.
that?
Permitted.
It
We-
would
Family
just be
childcare, single and two family permitted. On
based on
table 3A.
getting
table
a
of allowed
permit on
uses.
page 13.
not in residential. It was, we crossed it out of residential and put it in multifamily or
Okay.
business.
Oh, did we?
Okay, well, that's good.
So that in itself restricts, a
Where it
lot
could be.
because most, 90% of the town or 95 is residential zone, so. That's your control. And then if it can happen by chance, then you have the extra control of the parking, and all these standards here. So
I would say leave it as is. It's already written in a way that I think very few people would even be able to qualify. So, well, and that's what Mike said, is just leave it at that. And don't even do 1 and 2 and 4, just do 3.
So if a daycare center was developed, you wouldn't want them to have their own dedicated parking area required.
No, I think we should leave 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, we should leave it in.
That's what I think.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
Okay.
I'm saying if it, based on what Todd and Mike said, that it sounded like they just wanted number 3 and not 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah. And
But-
these are the things where it's like, yeah, that may not ever happen, but if it does, it's a whole lot easier to have it
It's
in
there.
here than create an ordinance which requires lots of things to happen
Yeah,
to actually do it, so it's,
and it's not like Mike,
It's tough.
there's a lot of people looking through that and going, okay,
it's
it's
tough to-
only the person that's maybe going to do this on the one place in town, if there even is one that would qualify.
Right.
Maybe the
Fine.
joint church.
Never
the-
know.
Bed and breakfast. It says here it shall not be allowed in any, and I wanted to go to the meeting last night, but didn't make it. So I don't know what came out of the meeting about VRBOs and all that, but bed and breakfast lodging shall not be allowed in any dwelling unit permitted as an accessory dwelling unit. Okay, that's fine. The establishment shall be owner occupied or occupied by a resident manager. So you want your bed and breakfast to be occupied, somebody's living in it? No cooking facilities such as stoves, hot plates, or microwave ovens shall be provided in the guest rooms. Why would we say that?
Yeah, I don't know. That seems kind of.
Why do we care about that?
Well, fire risk, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but a microwave is not a fire risk.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
would question that.
Coffee pot and a microwave, they could get up at 4 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
so
have a
let's
cup of
just
coffee
strike
before we
3.
Serve them breakfast.
It's a way to keep, it's a way to keep businesses out. That's what it is.
Strike 3. Do we want, if it's a bed and breakfast, does somebody have to live there?
I think so. Bed and breakfast.
That would be kind of. a
You're providing the
definition of bed.
breakfast. So
I've stayed in
hosting.
bed and breakfasts where they certainly didn't live there, but they came and brought you breakfast, the manager. did.
That to me isn't a bed and breakfast. So
Okay,
anyway.
what would we
Let's
call
see
it?
if it's
A
defined. Well, I
a
don't know.
short-term rental?
What we were in, I don't know.
Do we, I don't even know if we want the category of bed and breakfast because it's too confusing with our short-term rentals, maybe? I don't know.
Mhm.
Do we have a short-term rental designation?
No, and I think it's different. The bed and breakfast is a commercial, it's more of a, I guess it's more of a business use than a residential use. I think that there's been cases that have said that the short-term rental situation is it's like a residential land right. So, but it's not a typical business. So even though, obviously there's arguments there, but a bed and breakfast to me would be more of a commercial type
Are you
lodge. I
envisioning,
don't know. It's tough.
There is a definition,
Oh, the
and there is
definition
a
of,
definition.
yeah, what
I
is
can
that?
read it to you.
what page?
It's on page 95.
Go for it.
An overnight lodging establishment that is owner occupied or occupied by a resident manager where individual bedrooms are offered as single accommodations to guests for transient lodging, and which facility includes incidental eating and drinking service from a single kitchen serving only residents and guests, not operated in a manner of a commercial restaurant. Minimum of 2 bedrooms available for lodging and 1 bedroom available for the owner or manager. That's kind of weird. I think a minimum of 1 bedroom. I mean, you could have just 1 bedroom and a bed and breakfast. I don't know what that's about. Available, but and then you have to have a bedroom that the owner or manager resides on site.
And
I
then
think that's the definition.
in the chart, we did previously say permitted for all these zones here, right here.
Including residential?
Yeah.
Okay. I think on your definition, you need to have a minimum of 1 bedroom available for lodging instead of 2.
Yeah, that's
I
weird.
fixed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me note that. 'Cause instead of
Page,
jumping around. let me-
95.
95, yeah.
let's see,
1 bedroom.
So we like it.
95, I'll just, yeah, never mind.
This is basically a short-term rental where the owner lives there and serves breakfast.
Right.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Not much different.
That's what I'm hearing, Mike.
And
Do you do that, Mike?
I don't serve breakfast, no. Although we've got relatives over there now, we're all eating together, but
Well, it's interesting because how does that, yeah, I mean, how does it relate to short-term rental? Because they would have to basically enroll in the same system. They would have to pay a lodging tax and then.
Do
but-
they?
But then they would, but then does it count against the short-term rental
Numbers.
count? So it's kind of, but I guess the theory is if someone's living there, they have more direct control over what's happening.
Right.
So it's a little different.
Are we going to have a different category of permit for bed and breakfast compared to short-term rental? Then why don't we just lump it all together with short-term rental?
Yeah.
Yeah, what
there may
problems
be,
could
there
we
may
have?
be,
What difference does it
for
make?
some reason, I'm thinking there might have been some court cases or something related to this to where short-term rentals actually have quite a bit of protected property right.
Well,
type
wouldn't
thing
this
going.
too? This is the person's home they're living in. They're even more protected, I would think.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I was, and I can't put my finger
Consultant
on it.
question.
Consultant question.
do we have any bed and breakfasts in town now?
Not that I know of, no. We just have sort of there's the short-term rentals and then there's the lodges, which are zoned business, which, you know, are the Outlook, the Green Mountain Falls, the Little Beaver and Lakeside Cottages.
And they don't serve
Do
food.
any of
The
them
Outlook
serve
used to.
meals?
Not, I don't know, actually. I don't,
We have kitchens and our renters cook their own meals.
And that's
Right.
what the Outlook Lodge does as well.
Yeah.
They have a kitchen there for you and
Oh, so it's not
You
a
wanna
B
go
and
ahead
B
You
and
cook
cook
your own
anymore.
meal.
It's not anymore. Yeah.
Sounds like
It
a
was.
question for a consultant.
oh, God, yeah.
Okay, so I have it down, consultant, is this the same as short-term rental? If we want to simplify things, do we just combine it? Is there a legal reason not to?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
All right, kennel pet care.
Hold on.
Do we have any of these things in town now?
No.
Not a
but-
business kennel, no.
Oh,
And what would be the reason to zone somebody taking care of a bunch of dogs? Is that for us to know? Because I think people take care of dogs in their home. We don't know how many. Do we want to limit that and why would we need to?
If none of us know
Is
about
it
it,
safety? Is it
I'd say if they aren't. barking
nuisance to
and raising-
neighbors?
Neighbors aren't raising hell, so be it.
I agree.
Nuisance to neighbors, right, or safety. If they're not managing the dogs and just, they're running, you know. I don't know.
so is it good to have this category so people can lodge a complaint? If it's not being followed? And otherwise, we don't worry about it. If somebody's taking care of somebody's dog in their house and it doesn't bother anybody, we don't care. What would be the
I think-
purpose of having this?
I think it depends on the definition. If it's like a, you know, a facility that has, you know,
The whole bunch
lots of
cages.
cages that are outside, then that could be pretty
We
noisy.
went up to Divide and went to the kennel up there to look at dogs and they were just barking and raising hell. And we had something like that in town. You'd
Oh,
have
be
to have it
crazy.
a lot further than 250 feet without
Yeah,
neighbors complaining pretty hard.
The definition of a kennel in here is any establishment where 4 or more domestic animals, they don't even say dogs, are trained, groomed, boarded, fed, sold, or bred as commercial activity.
What page are you on?
I'm on
Almost sounds like a
page
business zoning.
96.
Zone it, something, that almost sounds to me like a zone business. Type of
think
thing.
Yeah.
Female dog and she gets pregnant and has 6 pups.
You're out of compliance.
No, you're not operating as a business at that point. That's why I say
Well, but
zone
if you're gonna
business.
sell those
She
pups,
has
you
6
are.
pups. And
But,
that
you know,
would
again,
Not bother anybody, I would.
that wouldn't bother anyone now.
Especially if they were inside.
we had it as conditional use for
Yeah.
the residential zones and then
Hey.
permitted for business.
Nate, this is
Yeah.
Ann. I noticed that it shows that the clerk is Laura.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of annoying. She was the
It's
old.
been
clerk.
going on a while.
That's been a very long time.
So-
Okay, so what do we want to do with this kennel pet care? I almost want to get rid of it, or do we need to have it? I would want to have more than maybe 4 animals is our definition if we kept it. Go ahead, Lisa.
I just if we think about our town, do we want to control large groups of dogs or cats, either one? And we probably do. So there's somebody in our neighborhood with, like next door with 3 dogs and they put it, you know, the dogs come out to the shock, you know, whatever it is, the electric line, and they just terrify us all the time. They're just
Really?
always out there. Yeah.
Wow.
I haven't complained, but I think it could be problematic. And they're unpredictable and, you know,
Who's that?
I just think in general,
The other part of the code specifies that you can't have more than 2 dogs.
right,
Where is that? Is that in
Where's
land
that?
use or is that somewhere else?
The other portion of the municipal code.
right.
So that's a consistency that we're here charged to fix.
Yeah, maybe so.
So if it says 2 dogs someplace else and we've got 4 dogs here and
Well, this is a business use.
and
Right.
what are,
agree.
where in the municipal code, what does it say about 2 dogs?
That's the limit.
It's.
Oh, where is it?
Where is it?
Well, no, I don't need to know the
Oh,
chapter and
yeah.
verse, but
yeah,
are
it
we
says-
saying that that's the limit for a business? You can only have 2 dogs?
No.
No,
for-
personal, for
Oh,
personal.
okay. So your 3 dogs are over the limit.
Yeah,
Okay, so that doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing right here.
No.
All right, so
well,
Lisa feels like we need to have some kind of guidelines so we can do something if somebody did get completely out of control and there were complaints. Todd?
Do you really want to have a kennel within the city limits?
no.
I don't think we
Kennel
do.
business, no.
And then you'd have to go back to the chart and basically leave that as blank. You know, you might have a separate line for pet care, but a kennel, you know, where that's, to me, that's a business.
Like Bow Wow
A
Camp
noisy
or whatever.
business.
Yeah, no. we don't.
Exactly.
Can we cover that in the business section and just have some rules about a business that allows us to step in and say, no, can't do that?
You'd have to
For a
put it,
business
you'd have to put
license.
it as a conditional instead of a permitted under your table.
Mhm.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm looking for where kennel is on the table. Oh, I see it. So we had, did you change it or is it the same as what's written here? Conditional,
We combined them and we made it conditional, permitted.
I don't have any problem just eliminating, saying we're not gonna have kennels in town.
and how do we best do
They're
that?
noisy and they're
Yes,
stinky.
so
We don't want them in this town. Let's go off the divide if you want a dog,
So do we remove,
because they.
we
are
remove
noisy.
it, yeah.
do we remove
We-
kennel
they-
entirely? Or do you have it and say you have to get a permit and we'll never give a permit?
Well, like this RV park, we left that blank to indicate that it's not permitted, but
Okay,
that's a structural issue that we could
I'd say let's.
say, if it's not listed in this table, you can't do it, or just leave it blank.
leave it blank. Let's leave it blank.
Okay.
Yep. All
And
the way-
that
all the
means
way
we're gonna
across.
take out all the of F
Well, wait,
on
wait, wait, wait.
page 16.
Oh, pet
You
care.
got,
there
you
you
got
go.
kennel up above it. So it would be, you'd
Oh,
basically
right.
delete
Oh,
that.
that's right. So we
just
separated them
separated.
last time and we made it permitted in a business zone.
But
So we can,
we
so
don't want
pet
it-
care is still conditional, permitted.
Oh, right. We
So-
can
That's,
have
that's
fun.
confusing because I don't think we have a definition for pet care.
Right.
Let's just leave it at kennel and leave it blank, okay? Because pet care it's just too confusing. Don't y'all think? What is pet care?
Mhm.
And so I'm sorry, what are we doing with pet care?
Leave it blank as you originally suggested. Just leave the whole thing blank. We have the kennel and we don't permit them. And it's that simple.
And we're not going to address pet care.
Pet care, yeah, what are we doing?
Because That's
Um,
about pet
You
care.
can combine it with it or don't, but either way, we're not going to permit pet care either.
So what about, well. Yeah, okay. So,
Okay, veterinarian clinic. Shall comply with standards for outdoor activity established for kennels.
so we can essentially strike.
Yeah, because they usually have a kennel.
But we're not gonna have
So-
one here, so do we just do the same thing, make it blank? Because we're not gonna permit a veterinary clinic here? Would that be accurate? Do we want a veterinarian clinic here in town? I just don't see that as a business that would
Or
be
even a
here.
medical clinic. I don't know. UC Health, I don't think so. No, no.
They're not coming here. What do you think, Mike?
I don't care. I wouldn't have any objection to just eliminating pet care.
And what about veterinary clinic?
Veterinary clinic, that's fine. I don't
Would you-
think anybody's gonna come in this town anyway. I mean,
Let's leave it blank again and we'll,
somebody comes in and makes a convincing case, we can always
Yeah,
consider it.
But think about it, if we had some sort of a business like that where there are 5 patients an hour. I mean,
We don't want that.
we can't, well, we can't manage it
No.
in this setting. So I think any of that, that's not going to work.
leave it blank.
Refer them to the vet up.
Could produce sales tax.
And
I think it'd be too much pain. It would be too big a cost for the pain. All right, self-storage and mini warehouse.
We got one of those right behind us.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a
So it exists already. Do we want more of them?
Individual storage units shall not face any abutting street frontage. Individual storage units shall have the interior.
The definition for that on
Yeah,
page
let's look at
98
that.
is an establishment consisting of individual self-contained units that are leased to individuals, organizations, or businesses for the self-storage of personal property. There are typically few customers present at any one time. Accessory uses may include offices and parking.
I don't know whether this design and layout includes what they have behind us or not. The doors face
Well, we're,
forward and back.
That wouldn't have-
And
so if
again, we're just
something is
talking
already
about-
there, it's there,
Yeah,
but we're
we're talking
talking
about
about
new
new
stuff.
development. I don't think we want a storage facility
I don't think so.
in our resort-ish type town.
I don't,
But you need to have, since we already have one, you probably ought to keep it in the use.
Then you need to say that again, Todd.
Since you've already have one, you probably ought to keep it in the use, because if you eliminate it, now you eliminate that use within the city limits.
in other
And
words,
the
there needs to be a
use.
category.
You mean the
'cause we already-
zoning?
We already have one, so we have to leave it as a category.
Oh,
You have,
alright.
you have allowed uses,
okay.
and if you're saying you're not allowing,
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
So,
operation, not within 150 feet of a residential district. Now, there's a house within 150 feet of the one that's out there.
Yeah.
yeah, that
Okay.
needs to be,
Then, can operate between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. or before 7 and after 10. I don't know how they're gonna control that if they're renting it to somebody and they want to come in and get something out of their unit at.
They usually-
at Night.
They usually handle that in the places that I have rented like that. They have a gate that locks and you can't get in.
Yeah, there's no gate in this one.
Well,
It's
I know,
totally
the one that's
accessible.
here isn't gonna comply with any of this, but we're talking about future ones. And Todd's saying we need to keep it because we have one, we have that category that is a use.
it's a use.
And so we've got to leave it, even though it doesn't comply, we know that's fine. And we have to have the category though.
Actually, if you eliminated H2 there, it would. Because they don't, none of their storage units face any abutting street frontage, and individual units shall face the interior of the site. I mean, he pretty much owns all that site. And we're probably gonna have at some point, we may have a set of a dumpster blind on one side of it, but we'll see.
What did we do on our chart with that?
business zone permitted.
Okay. All right. So that'll handle it. Moving on, accessory uses and structures, accessory dwelling unit. Don't we love this? Location and access.
Are we striking out any? So there's also a C here for.
sale of the products.
Oh.
Yeah,
Are we striking any of this?
I would strike A,
This one here?
or add a line for new development in case someone buys that empty lot.
Okay, so you're saying what, Todd? A, 1A,
2A,
2A. We don't want them within
Oh,
150 feet of
But-
residential
but-
district.
it
you
says
currently have
or
one.
use. Self,
Why would we strike that?
or use. That doesn't make sense now that I'm looking at it.
yeah. Again, under your usage, if you
Jeez,
put a
hell no.
limitation on it, that basically put someone out of business here, yeah, we'll hear about it.
Well, we don't want them to come in and do a new one. And it doesn't matter about the existing ones, does it?
You can, he could argue, I got so many terms running around my head.
Because I
Let's
thought
see,
we said it didn't, none of this applied to the
The
current.
non-conforming.
yeah.
They're all grandfathered.
Yeah, the non-conformance.
Was there
Right.
is there a clause in here that says existing units are grandfathered?
Yeah, we do have the non-conformance paragraphs. So yeah, we could leave this in and you should be covered under the non-conformance paragraphs.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it's a good, I think it's a good sentence. I think it keeps people from coming in and doing it.
Yeah, what about the outdoor storage? Because I know that wasn't there I don't know if this would affect the current one or not. I mean, if it says,
Why don't we say
Yeah.
no outdoor storage or boats, trailers, or vehicles?
oh, they're using it for outdoor storage.
Yeah, we had a camper parked down there and will again in September. Just got it up at our cabin now.
Again,
I don't-
the current ones, it doesn't matter, right?
I don't know. I mean,
Is it a business?
I was.
Yes.
told-
Yes, it's a
I
business.
was told you could park a camper less than like 22 feet or something like that on private property.
right. you
Well, we're
can't-
not talking about private property,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's their private property.
Okay, but they're a business,
Well,
right?
This is under the heading of warehouse and self-storage. So I think they're talking about storing boats and trailers and things at the storage units or, you know, on their property at the business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But you're not including the existing one down here in that requirement.
Well, they're
What
saying that
existing
the
one? I don't know what
non-conformance
you're talking about.
paragraphs cover, this is only new stuff. Now, if that's wrong, tell me, guys.
Well, I'm just concerned with, you have a building that's already constructed, that's one thing, but if you're storing things that are easily seen or moved or that could be construed as a different thing. I think someone could come along and look at that and say, oh, but they have a trailer or whatever stored in that space and it's not screened. So I want to complain about that, or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I
And
think
we don't
it's
say it's
theoretically.
non-conformance and it's grandfathered, or do y'all, what would your recommendation be? On
I,
this?
I don't know if a non-conformity applies to mobile things that could be, I don't know, improved in this way, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't
Ask,
know.
ask the
What's your recommendation?
consultant.
Consultant.
I still think that this is under the heading of a self-storage in a mini warehouse. That's a whole different issue. People on their property, and that may be a different problem.
The point he's making is that there is such a business. And currently,
The warehouse business?
yes,
And they're storing a
It's a-
trailer.
yes.
Our trailer is parked in.
But you're not,
Right across.
you're a different business. Are you the mini warehouse? Do you own a storage unit? Well, I'm talking about storage units.
We're renting a space from the storage unit.
Right behind the post office.
Right, I know where that is.
The grass.
So that's,
The grass between the Painted Bear and the. post
oh,
office
that's so that you
is
are,
their property.
oh,
And
so
we
that is a
rented-
storage
we
unit. I
rented
didn't know that.
space.
Okay.
With a
Park
vehicle,
our-
I thought it was your property because it was right there. Okay.
with a vehicle park.
Ah, okay.
And this says outdoor storage or boats, trailers and vehicles shall be screened, which
Yeah, but that's not a warehouse. That's some land that he's renting.
it's self-storage.
But it's next to the self-storage
So,
facility and
so is the
owned-
post office. So,
it's owned by the self-storage facility.
so,
It's their land and they're storing a trailer on it and
Without a
charging somebody to
screen.
do it.
Do people really care?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's not the
Yeah, I mean,
issue.
we
The
could
issue is
just-
how do we write our code? So what do y'all recommend?
I would
Consultant.
say, I would say strike this. I would say strike B.
I would
Mm.
strike the.
Strike,
2B.
Yeah.
okay, the fact that it has to be screened,
Yes.
just strike it.
That's what I would say.
All right,
Okay.
here we go. Done.
All right.
God,
I know, it's just insane.
didn't know it was a storage unit.
What about incidental retail sale of product? Do we want to strike that too? Because I'm surely they're not doing that. Are they
They're
selling
not.
bubble wrap? Mike?
No.
No.
This is
Little
like a
storage
U-Haul
What if,
place we're talking about.
Well, that's where you'd normally go is U-Haul.
Yeah, let's
someplace
just
like
get rid of that too.
A lot of the storage units sell bubble wrap, but not.
Yeah,
this stuff.
But we don't want to have
But
one of
the Ours
those.
doesn't. It's
No,
here
they
in
don't.
town. They're not selling
They have
boxes.
one building, they have a bunch of doors and they.
Yeah, yeah, I've
store
been
stuff.
there.
Stuff and run. it
Right.
out.
Okay, so do we want to strike C as well?
Yes,
Or do we want to leave it so nobody comes in and does it?
strike it and move on.
well, it says it is permitted, so. But so
Strike,
let me just throw this out. What if the townhomes next door
They're not a self-storage warehouse.
no, what if they burn or worst
Okay.
case scenario? What
Okay.
if they are demolished or or if there's another, I don't know if there's any other place in town that has the space to do that. Probably not. That's highly unlikely. So let's
Okay.
not, okay,
There's
never mind.
one empty lot.
I'll
down by
not be
the post
devil's
office.
advocate for this one. Let's move on.
On to page 17, accessory uses and structures, accessory dwelling unit. All right, let's look at our
Definition
definition.
Right.
It is an accessory build,
Just-
it's on page 98. Accessory building or structure is a detached subordinate building or structure located upon the same lot as a primary building or structure to which it's related, which is clearly incidental, subordinate, secondary, and devoted to the primary building or structure. Then there's an accessory dwelling unit, a residential dwelling unit located on the same lot as a primary dwelling unit and subordinate to that primary unit in conditioned living space. ADUs may be internal to, attached to, or detached from the primary dwelling unit and generally include living, sleeping, food preparation, and sanitary facilities, and a separate lockable entrance door. And we crossed out accessory uses above all that. When we were,
Mother-in-law cabin? or
No, then
something?
we wrote leave in. We wrote leave, I don't know, I wrote in here leave in.
oh, okay, all right.
Can I, what's a primary unit in conditioned living space? What's that mean? Subordinate to, whew, Aaron, help us here. That's some legal stuff. What's that mean? Primary dwelling unit and subordinate to the primary unit in conditioned living space. What does that mean?
Which point are you?
She's smiling. I don't know.
Which bullet
We're
point
on
are you
page
on?
98, definitions.
98
and then we're on page
definitions.
17.
Oh,
dealing with
sorry.
the code.
That's us.
I'll tell you what I
Where'd
think
I-
it says.
Yeah,
Basically, it's the accessory building or structure is like a shed or something, and it doesn't have air conditioning and it doesn't have heat and it
right,
doesn't
right,
have
right.
a
It's not for
toilet.
dwelling, right?
The accessory dwelling unit
Is
is a-
subordinate to that primary
a-
unit.
a smaller space.
Mother-in-law's house.
Yes, that would be like somebody could live there, mother-in-law.
Okay,
house.
okay,
Those are the two
okay.
mentioned and the
All right.
differences between them.
Yep.
Okay, so we got accessory dwelling unit. That we're
Maybe.
not gonna have more than one on a property.
So
Don't we
you know
have
what?
some properties that have more than one house?
So what just happened is we just approved 2 sheds in my backyard
Well,
last week.
They're not
They're
dwelling
not.
units.
yeah.
Well,
No, oh, they're not dwelling,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
They're accessory buildings,
Accessory,
excuse me. We're
yes.
on the
Yeah.
dwelling. Is there a subtitle for the buildings? There should be. Okay, if not, should put one in. Okay, yes, so we're on dwellings.
Dwelling
No
unit.
more than one, yeah,
You
check.
can have no more than one.
Mm-hmm.
You can be located within, attached to, or maybe detached.
Well, that's basically the definition. So
And what
maybe we
a
don't need-
detached garage would probably come under the
Structure.
non-dwelling one. just the-
Accessory structure.
Yeah.
There's
just
probably a
the
separate
Yeah, but
accessory
they're not-
section.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Design and layout.
This is
Oh
good.
my gosh, we're gonna
Yeah.
say how big it can be. Do we really want to do that? Do we really want to say how big it can be?
You
I think
know,
we
this,
should.
this is one where I might suggest, you get with the consultant on, because I'm pretty sure there's court cases involving accessory dwelling units going on.
Yeah, I think we should limit it.
I mean, when we start telling them how big it has to be, that is,
I think that's crazy too.
Well,
think
you
the
can't
overall
just build a
point is-
second home on your property though.
Right,
it
the
does
plan is to
say
keep
the
it
definition of an
subordinate.
accessory dwelling is that it's subordinate, so it's got to be smaller.
Yeah, but still, if you've got a 2,000 square foot home and you make a 1,500 square foot home right next to it, that's just, we're gonna have,
Yeah, good luck finding a lot that'll fit
Yeah,
on.
I mean, how many lots have us, or enough room for all the setbacks and everything, you probably couldn't qualify, could you?
there's some.
Okay, so
Might have.
we'll check on A.
And then yeah. I
Two
don't know.
houses on a
There's a
big
lot.
lot.
We're checking on A with the
The
consultant.
lot's big enough, why would we care?
Okay.
Yeah, anything regarding accessory dwelling unit, I would
Check on
definitely
the
get with
C.
a consultant.
Topic, yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Okay, all right.
C looks fine.
Okay.
Right.
Number 3, accessory, blah, blah, blah. Okay, parking. Do we want to? Oh my gosh. You have to
Okay,
have an
let's just-
additional off-street parking place for the accessory dwelling unit. I don't think we can,
No,
I don't think that works.
no.
Where alley access exists. I don't know that we want to, can we just cross out parking? We shouldn't have to deal with parking with this, right?
Actually, in my mind, you would,
Mm-hmm.
because if this actually goes through.
Yeah.
And someone comes in and manages to drop a tiny home in, you want to make sure they've got an additional parking space for them.
Okay,
That's part, yeah.
well, I just remember the house we owned on Belvedere had 0 parking.
Right, many of them don't, right?
There are some homes in town that have literally
0 parking.
0 parking.
Yeah.
All right. Drive-through. Can we cross this out?
Pretty sure.
Mhm.
Where in the world would we ever need, have, want a drive-through? Can we cross it out?
Yep, we don't want that.
Is it in our definitions?
Dang it, I wanted to.
We crossed it out in our definitions on page 98, so let's cross it out here.
Okay.
Everybody good?
Mhm.
Yep.
Home occupation. Home occupation, why are they talking about employees residing off
Let's
premises
look up home
in home
occupation.
occupation?
A business occupation or trade conducted as an accessory, we crossed it out. It's on 98 also.
The definition of home occupation.
Yeah, it's a business. an
Oh, I didn't
occupation
cross
or
it out.
Trade.
I didn't cross it out.
Well, I did when we were talking and said, cross it off. It
Cause
was
that-
in my notes.
what do you have on it on page 98? Nate, did you cross it out? Cause we talked about how people might do different kinds of businesses out of their home. I thought that's why we left it.
If you had an accountant that was doing businesses in his home and he hired an intern to help him,
Mhm.
I don't think we need to worry about that.
Or worry about how much off-street parking he has.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't have parking for the kid, why, he'll have to walk. Or downtown and walk in.
And these spaces shall be provided in addition to the parking required for the principal residential use of the property, which, by the way, do we even require that everybody have a parking spot for their house? That
Well, they don't.
is impossible here in this town.
There's a
Well,
parking section in the other part of the code. Let me look at that.
so, but is this, so would these be homes in a residential?
Yep.
So it's residential.
Yep.
But it's a business and a residence, right?
Yeah, it's like somebody,
Right, no, so it is a little different setting than just living in your house when you're in reference to parking.
Yeah, a masseuse that's got a bed down in her basement that she gives massages.
Right, no, I get it, yeah.
Mhm.
So it's 2 different things. It's apples and oranges in my mind.
so I don't think we should require parking spaces. Anybody disagree with that?
No,
Lisa? Ann?
This is for the employee also,
Right.
not the
Well, it also
client.
says these spaces shall be provided in addition to the parking required for the principal owner residential use of the property. And I don't want to
No,
require
let's
somebody to
just-
have a parking place
no.
in their own house when they don't come with
Okay,
them.
so let's get rid of the parking. right?
Entire parking section gone unless you guys disagree.
I agree with you.
That's good.
I don't think we can have somebody create something that doesn't exist.
Operation and ownership.
Oh, dear. That's- Who's gonna make-
Do we really want to say that they can only use 30% of their house for their business?
No,
No,
Take it out.
No, but hopefully they
B's
wouldn't
gone.
use more than that.
All
Yeah, we
on-site
already did.
activities. Okay, I like C. C's okay. Home occupation. Are you really gonna tell them how many employees they have? All residing off premises? Seriously?
no.
D's gone.
How about E? Shall not serve the patrons on the premises?
Again,
That's
you're
weird.
doing a massage. Why can't they come?
That doesn't make sense.
Well, it's kind of like, giving art lessons or something.
Yeah.
Or Sean Myers doing her silver work.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing taxes and the people bring in their tax work and
Yeah.
you
Bye-bye.
10 minutes and drop it off.
E is gone.
Direct retail sales or rentals prohibited except mail.
Are we going to make them buy a sales tax license? Are we enforcing that? Let's think about enforcement.
I don't
That's
think
the
so.
state that does state tax, not us, right?
Right, so let's.
It's
get rid-
gone. F is gone.
The whole thing, or
Well, then it's also talking about sellers, products.
the first sentence, I think is okay.
I think it's okay. Also,
Yeah,
Um,
first sentence is okay.
direct
is
resale
weird.
sales or rentals shall be prohibited except by mail.
Kind of like a short-term rental that.
So get rid of inappropriate sales tax license. Get rid of that line.
Everything,
Sure.
starting direct retail sales onward in F goes. Are you making notes on all this?
Hold on. Yeah. We had a question, because for short-term rentals, we do require a sales tax license to be
Mhm.
provided.
But this is a
But-
home occupation.
Right, but I'm just thinking this is just triggering another,
Tax thought.
But,
yeah.
but we have defined home occupation really well, and it's certainly not short-term rental.
But it might be a bed and breakfast.
No, I'm just
We
thinking.
define that really
general.
well too.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you can control the I mean,
We
I don't-
enforceable people, we
Yeah.
can't enforce this.
No,
I'm not gonna cross that out. Correct. I'm gonna make that note for myself for later, and then I'm gonna cross this out.
Home occupation shall
could-
not produce noise, electrical, blah, 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 blah,
I
blah.
can still, I guess, cross it out.
I'm good with all that except parking demand. How do you keep it from producing parking demand?
Wait, where are we? What do we
G.
say?
I'm down to
Oh,
G.
just G.
I would cross out parking demand on G. What do y'all think?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, H,
Parking's an issue.
you want me to keep it? Again, parking is just parking. We have
Yeah,
parking
but it's a hot
laws.
topic.
We have laws around parking. If you're parking illegally, that's a
Actually,
problem.
The new code has a bunch of parking stuff in it that we've not even started to enforce yet, so. It's,
If it's a legal
gonna
place
be
to
a-
park, if it, fine. If it's not, then you don't have a place to park. So I don't see
Right.
why we have to do that.
It sounds like
because-
parking is in every one of these uses that we can just
Yeah.
deal with parking separately, right? Do you think, Todd?
maybe.
Are we
Well,
gonna tell them when their customers can come? What time? H?
No.
we probably ought to look up the new parking code,
Mhm.
and because I'm sure it probably has something in it that basically says you gotta have so many spaces per.
Well, it shouldn't.
Well, then we
Well,
need
the
to,
new
then we
parking
need,
code that we've already approved.
I know, but it shouldn't.
How can-
It's not
how can
enforceable.
Require something that doesn't.
We don't
exist?
have. On
You Get a
H,
variation.
or we can't
What's that?
change, right?
But why
If-
go through all that bullshit?
exactly.
But what Todd's saying is it's already defined and then
It's
municipal
in
code.
If it's already in use, it's
So-
not
But
compliant.
it's defined there, so we don't necessarily have to define it in each of these.
I think we probably ought to double check it.
Sync it at least. I just made a note to sync it up.
Yeah, y'all can provide us that stuff. We can't memorize all the code, sorry.
Yeah.
H, I would take out customer visits shall not occur between those times. But it should not create a public nuisance, disturb neighbors, or alter the residential character of the premises. I think that's reasonable. Do y'all agree?
That's true.
I, outdoor advertising of the home occupation or business is prohibited. Agreed with that? Or no? You think they should be able to put a sign out? Therapist,
Okay, wait.
This is a
like
home.
Lucy and Charlie Brown?
Doesn't offend me.
Doesn't offend me either, but do y'all agree with, what do y'all say about I?
I don't know.
I don't like
I-
it.
you could put it on your front door, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Hang your shingle.
Yeah, that, Yeah, so
sign
that's
in your window that says
in the
tax
window, but that's
service.
not outdoor advertising like in the yard, so.
Okay.
well,
I think
We'll leave
there's
it.
a whole nother
We have to
section about
define.
signs in the
Yeah, there
code
is.
too.
Oh, I'm
We do
sure
have a
there
other
is.
Section on
Yeah.
signs.
Outdoor dining, design and layout.
So we decided to cross that, right? Also make a note to,
Mike, you got 4 feet wide of unobstructed sidewalk for pedestrian traffic?
I'm down at the Mucky Duck, when they have outdoor dining, they don't really have 4 feet, and they don't have 4 feet. I mean, they wouldn't be able to do it if they had to have 4 feet.
Yeah.
They squeeze it in as tight as they can get it. They probably have 2.5 or 3 feet, but
And I think there's a minimum that has to be allowed for the sidewalk.
Outdoor
Probably.
dining area shall not,
people can walk through. I mean, the 2 people can walk side by side and go by those people that are eating.
Yep.
But, I don't know, that's another one of those things, you can't make that damn thing any wider. They would have to go tear out the parking lot and extend their roof and everything else if we required them to do something like this.
And it's the
Either that
pandemic,
or
we
they
need
just
to
have
eat
quit dining
outdoors.
Outside.
Yeah, and for,
well, and the 4 feet is in A, B, C.
Maybe we just leave the 4 feet out and just put the dining area should not interfere with access.
I like
and
it.
then now you have something that's not enforceable.
Ah, you're right, okay.
Why isn't that
Yeah,
enforceable?
why wouldn't? it?
If I'm tripping over
Any-
somebody sitting in a chair,
Anything that's opinion based is not enforceable. You need a criteria.
okay, should we change this to 2 feet?
Well, for some reason, Mucky Duck has dealt with this and I thought they had to. I thought they told me they had to allow a certain minimum width
the ADA.
for some kind of access. And, this is saying 4 feet. I don't think it's 4 feet.
No, I don't think.
I think they had like 32 inches.
Yeah.
Okay, let's change it to 32 inches.
32 inches is plenty of room for 2 people to walk side by side.
Okay, 32 inches
Well,
in
ADA.
A, 32 inches in B, 32 inches in C. Taking out the 4 feet each place. Okay, outdoor D. You
Verify
can't
that.
have it in a street, intersection of a street, an alley. Clear sight triangles.
What did you read the outdoor dining size of 8 feet on B? You skipped another,
B, I'm crossing out the 4 feet and putting.
right, but there
32
are other
inches.
statements in that.
Okay,
Outdoor dining
Oh.
areas in the public right of way shall not exceed a size of 8
8
by
feet.
20 feet within the roadway.
Oh, God.
do we have any outdoor dining in the roadway?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
kind of
so
weird.
we can leave
Got
that.
a little outdoor dining down in front of the pantry and a little in front of. the Mucky
Yeah, I don't
Duck.
think we have
That's
any in
it.
the road. We probably shouldn't have any in the road.
Maybe I'm reading that wrong. 20 feet within the roadway reads to me that you're sitting in the roadway. Are they talking about 20 feet away from a roadway?
I would maybe recommend outdoor dining areas must be submitted to the Board of Trustees for approval.
And just leave it at that?
Yeah,
Right
so that
on.
way someone could
Take
come in
this
with,
all out?
yeah,
They get special permits for things like that.
yeah.
I mean, we get 2 restaurants in town and they both do outdoor dining and.
Are they gonna have to approve it?
No, well, the
They're-
board.
They're already
who-
here?
Who would have to approve it?
Well, we've got the pantry doing outdoor dining.
No, they're already
They're
existing, so it'd be, if it's just left open to say, come in front of the board and,
And so let's say the old fire station has a destination meal or something like that, and they stick some tables out in front because they don't have enough room inside.
right, and they,
Men get a permit for that?
that's what this would say, come in and, basically petition the board to give a thumbs up.
You mean, but in their parking lot, that wouldn't be an issue, but you mean if they wanted to extend into the actual road?
If, depending on where that right of way is, if they were to go into the right of way.
So you're taking out the entire thing, submit to BOT, or this one section D?
I think we're talking about just B, right?
Right now, we're just talking about B, but
B boy?
yeah,
Shall require a permit? Because public
Require
right of
DOT
way,
shall require BOT approval. Something like that, something weird like that.
How about require town clerk approval? I mean, if you gotta wait for the Board of Trustees meeting and it just.
Then you're gonna
landed
wait.
Yesterday.
You're gonna wait. You're
30
gonna wait.
days,
You're
then
gonna
you
wait.
guys Table it, then.
You're
it'll be
gonna
another
wait.
30 days.
You're gonna wait.
Okay.
I hear you, Mike.
I'm
I feel your
thinking,
pain.
and I mean, is this for a permanent permanent outdoor dining area or like a temporary? I'm thinking more temporary, but maybe
I'm
this is,
thinking if they got a wedding and they gotta wait for an hour, a month and a half to get the answer and the wedding is next week.
If they need outdoor dining in the right of way, they need to plan ahead and make sure they come to us.
Okay.
because right away means it's interfering with traffic.
In the road, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking in the road, but don't you
Right.
have right of way alongside of the road somewhere between the road and the building? I
Yeah,
mean, we only own 18 inches
Yeah.
out from our building, so you guys got the right of way clear out to the street.
Yeah.
And so if we wanted to do something out there, which we're gonna do during Bronc
Oh
days.
my
but-
God.
yeah.
Then we'd have to come to the.
I don't
Board
know.
of Trustees
To me,
meeting.
there's a difference between right of way and functional right of way,
Okay.
which that again, I don't know if we can even,
Defined right
do
away
that.
in here, guys.
yeah.
Surely.
There's no
Well-
definition of right away.
Right of way is kind of more of a statutory definition, I believe.
So what is the definition in D, dog, B, boy?
What, where?
The public right of way, because it's, yeah.
Yeah, right of way of the roads is 40 feet. Legally.
Yeah, I
Which
mean,
is
just wondering,
not
where is the right
true.
of way? For
It's-
example, down at the fire station, how does when you measure the distance between the front doors of the fire station and the street or the edge of the street, how much of that do they own and how much of it is the city's right of way?
I have it in a plan
Yeah,
somewhere,
we've
but,
actually got it on a plan somewhere.
All right, so does this not matter at all?
but I don't know if it
we
matters
cross
because
it
it's not.
And say that they get BOT approval, then we don't care, right?
Right.
We don't need to define it and we don't care. We good? Mike,
So,
can you live with that?
Outdoor dining areas in the public right of way shall require,
It's gone.
Shall require Board
BOT
of
approval.
BOT approval.
Accessibility ramps.
And you better get in early.
are we striking are we striking the rest of that outdoor dining? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
The
just
8,
all
the
the whole
20, all that.
thing is BOT approval.
may extend to the sidewalk area. That's not even, we don't really have sidewalks, so,
Right.
yeah, totally.
All
All
right,
right, okay.
accessibility ramp shall be provided where necessary. Again, this is very, very vague,
This
but
is
shall
all
not
about
prevent
outdoor dining.
at least 32 inches of unobstructed sidewalk to be maintained for pedestrian traffic. Do we want that at all?
Where are you located?
I'm on
We're on C, we're still on that
D
same
dot
outdoor dining.
1C cat.
Oh. What are accessibility ramps?
That is
We
for
have
ADA.
wheelchairs.
ADA.
Okay, but do we have any?
Probably not, but they're saying shall be provided where necessary. That's very vague and unenforceable.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any now. And I don't know
And
where the hell
that's,
you'd
that's
put
a
'em.
federal law, ADA accessible. I mean,
Cut
we
her
shouldn't
out.
have to.
Let's get rid of it.
I say get rid of it.
Okay.
D dog. Outdoor not dining areas. I want to get rid of D too. This is just too hard to comply with.
Well, if we're saying that
Clear
everything
sight
is
triangles,
for the
really?
board, then
If they're gonna go to the VOT to get approval,
Right.
then they can take whatever in there they want. If they want to put it out in the middle of a street.
We good with taking out D?
Put it on.
yeah.
a Raft and send it out in the middle of the lake.
All right. The
E.
last of this section is E, egg.
Probably
It's the
good.
same thing. Get rid of that.
I say get rid of that. You think the BOT really knows what a clear sight triangle and unobstructed access even looks like?
He does, yes, I think they do. And we're gonna let them,
At least
Discuss.
one of us does.
If you don't like it, you can turn it down, whatever it is.
Number 2, location and
That's true.
access. Are we gonna count how many outdoor dining areas can be on one block? I don't think so. Out.
But
What-
what if the director wants to do something here?
What if
I'm just
the
kidding.
Blue Moose wanted to set some chairs out on their side?
Exactly. Why can't they?
You could have a little-
They'd have to clean up a bunch of garbage first, but
Well, they, then we'll get into sidewalk, we'll
We
get into
can
sidewalk
handle
codes.
Do we have any codes about trash sitting out in the,
Old
Where-
nasty grills.
working it.
Yeah, no comment.
is that our responsibility in land use to provide those kinds of?
I would say
Those are-
location and access.
What's that?
Okay.
Oh, just the whole thing? Okay,
B-boy,
no,
Okay.
we got rid of the whole
Two
thing.
B.
A and B.
No,
we're doing
they're
A and
gone.
B, we're already
Yeah.
gone,
You
yay.
suggested that and we're going with it.
All right. 3, ownership, operation and ownership.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Is the business responsible for snow removal?
I got it.
We getting way too detailed. here.
Yeah, let's get rid of every single bit of 3.
Okay,
Go for it.
Do we want to say, G, this use does not include mobile food vendors or peddlers? Did we define peddlers?
Doesn't that have its own set?
yeah.
I don't think we did.
No,
What's a
I
peddler?
don't remember.
By the way, I.
There's a whole nother section on
saw
mobile
a
food.
Homeless person in Green Mountain Falls this morning. He
On the
was
bench.
Laying down on the bench. Margaret took him a hot cup of coffee and a
Oh.
sandwich.
That's nice.
He told us he was from California originally, but he's now living in Boulder and he was headed back to Boulder. So I suppose he was hitchhiking
Really?
and ran out
Oh
of
my gosh.
a ride. So he just stopped here and slept on the bench last night.
Wow.
Must have
Oops.
walked in the rain because he had all of his clothes
I
laid
saw
out
that.
on
Yeah.
the table.
That was nice of you, huh?
Peddler's not in the definition that I found.
It's there's a whole other section of code for mobile food vendors and peddlers being licensed.
Okay.
That's kind of in the business license area.
Okay, do we need to make the statement, this use does not include mobile food vendors or peddlers underneath outdoor dining? Don't even need to say it. Okay, it's
think so.
gone.
They're separate, so,
E, outdoor retail and display. I think we're probably going to want to get rid of all of this.
well. Contain and improves. no retail and display.
Another one was just come to the BOT if you want. Or administrative.
We set pictures out in front of our store. Is that included here? We need to go to the BOT and say, is it okay if we set a picture out on our table in front of the store?
No.
No,
Or
this is
Or lean a
mostly
picture
about,
up
this is
against a
mostly about the
barrel that has
improved
flowers in it.
service. It's mostly about the surface, all about the surface, which is silly.
I think we should get rid of that whole thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't. agree.
I don't think there's any retail place that's going to be misusing displays.
Us would be the painted bear. You can
Troublemaker.
come down and box our ears and tell us to take it inside.
well, we might leave in that they shouldn't obstruct required parking. I mean,
Well, I think we don't want to have required parking.
or passage parking,
Established parking.
required landscaped areas. I don't know.
2 times a year, we go out in our parking area and put a table out there and Margaret's gonna have a deal for kids to paint
No, and I think that's
Christmas
fine.
tree
I'm,
ornaments.
yeah, I'm thinking like more
during walk day.
permanently.
Let's
Supposed to
just
donate
take it out.
Okay,
$2.
that's fine.
If people
whole
can't
thing.
park it to go in your
Yeah, yeah,
store,
yeah, yeah. I
you-
was thinking
you
more
know, you're pretty
permanently.
stupid.
I was thinking more permanently.
Outdoor store.
Okay.
And this is all under
Outdoor retail and display.
50%
Outdoor dining.
You gotta catch
So-
up.
I'm on F, outdoor storage,
We
which I
already-
think
I'm
we
sorry.
need
Looks
to
like
get
we
rid
already
of.
took it
It's not.
away. No, wait, let him get to the outdoor retail display. There it is. See, we already took it out.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
So we already did that.
Outdoor storage. where do people even have room for storage and why do we have to address that? I mean,
Well. Doesn't mind.
Is this for the,
why can't he
Barbecue
store stuff
grills?
behind his door if he feels like it?
Oh,
is this for the barbecue grills out front?
That could be.
I'm trying to track back where what's the
Are we
heading?
with the,
Accessory uses and structures.
The moose and their outdoor storage in front of on the sidewalk? Is that an issue?
No, Nate, it's actually rolled in under accessory uses.
Which,
We're gonna allow outdoor storage.
Is that gonna help you enforce all the garbage and stuff sitting out in front of there if we say outdoor storage is
I'd say we just go down and talk to Kat and say, can't you do something to dress this front up a little bit? And she doesn't want to do that.
No, it has, it's just not that. There are actually people that.
do they have rights to
they're
the
putting-
sidewalk?
They're putting their stuff down there? Oh,
I don't think they have a legal right to the sidewalk. All right, so outdoor storage, do we want to get rid of this? Is there something we want to say that's practical about it? Again, we got to have a screen on number 5. Public view, we just can't view it publicly.
I think this is even regarding residential areas to say, like, for instance, I've got a bunch of, kayaks and canoes that I just like throw, like they're just like on the side of my house.
Decorative,
Huh?
decorative.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that, storage is a,
You're right, it's
Premium.
under that section of accessory uses and structures.
right.
And
So-
accessory dwelling,
Mhm.
just accessory uses and structures,
So this is basically regulating how anyone stores anything
right.
outside of on their lot.
Not just business.
I don't think you should regulate that. I don't think so.
Well,
How junky do you want your neighbor to get, Ann?
Well, who's going to enforce it? It's not,
Well, our marshal is supposed to, but anyway, what do we want to do on F?
I wouldn't regulate it. In this little town, it's just too hard and it's not a danger.
Well, it's a fire danger,
Could be a
actually.
danger,
Not really.
yeah.
It's a fire danger.
it's not,
Can't get to the front door.
it's not burning.
Oh, is it that? Where is something that's
Yeah,
like that
no.
right now? Is
No,
there,
Well, I was just giving an example of my boats that I store on the side of my house that are probably right on the property line
absolutely.
or within 5 feet of the
Some people
setback.
might
that
think
goes
it looks
here.
junky. I don't. I think
Right,
it's,
I mean, that's the thing. Some people may hate that, but
I've driven by your house. It doesn't look bad. All right, so we want to cross all this out?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't
I-
know. I don't think so.
We got to
No.
have some standards.
Right.
What are they? What do we want to have? I think setback from all property lines, 5 feet is extreme for our town and not exceed 6 feet in height. How tall are your boats?
they're laying down, so they're not very tall.
Setback from.
I think it sounds too,
That'd be a problem.
What,
sounds-
Ann?
well,
Ann?
I was just gonna say, for a little diverse town like this, it sounds very snobbish. I don't like that.
Well, we don't have, we have to write codes and we
No, we
can't
don't.
make a decision about our codes. Well, it's our job tonight, unfortunately. We
Well,
can't make
that's what-
decisions about our codes based on whether or not it sounds snobby. That can't be
Well,
one of our
You
criteria.
know what? I think it can be problematic and I think maybe we should talk to our planner about this because it
All right.
is politically charged.
Okay, so consultant on this guy?
I think so.
yeah,
It's a good way
Yeah,
to
there's,
get
there's,
efficient.
there's a couple of homes that I know
give
if
them-
there were a fire or something, you couldn't
give
get close to the
Nate's
front door.
neighbor a reason to go
Yeah.
over and
Well,
complain.
that may go into our WUI codes that,
Right.
that we will be
Well,
adding, but,
It's okay. So, all right.
I'm gonna have that as a question. Fire risk.
Or getting an ambulance close or whatever it may
you know,
be.
and then there's things where, okay, it's only, you can always store stuff behind.
Right, what's
A place.
behind?
Can you have a,
How do you
Can't
define
have up-
behind?
You
I
can't
don't
have
see
it
it in
off to
my-
the side.
No, that one is obviously no. I think you
Yeah.
could remove
we've
that.
got,
Behind the
those big
rear.
plastic storage containers that are gray with a green top. And we do have them behind, they're underneath our kitchen, so it's got kind of a camouflage in front of it because it's got a slatted front. But if we had that sitting out, is that legit or is that gonna get canceled?
Yeah, I think we should get rid of
Makes
one. I mean, you
sense.
could put it on the side
Yeah.
or something. So I think you could get
Yeah.
rid of one.
I took
Um,
out behind the rear and
Right.
left outdoor storage areas shall be permitted.
It's
Um,
very,
That's a good idea, period.
very detailed.
Okay, let's go on to 12-350 temporary uses and structures. What time is it?
It's about 10 to 8.
Uh,
Can we quit at 8 o'clock?
we could.
Okay,
Are you starving?
well, getting hungry.
All right, let's see how far we can get. Temporary uses and structures, construction, support activity, temporary office space, equipment stores, blah, blah, blah.
I think we talked about this.
We
already.
did. This is where you have the mobile home in front of where you're,
A trailer, right,
yeah,
as temporary. So
construction
it says
support
30.
activities. Well,
it's defined as.
we
30
had,
days.
when we did construction, we had to have a porta potty
Right,
in front of our house.
right.
That's not office space or equipment storage.
I think this is okay to learn, to leave, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Temporary retail and display, we're back on that.
What?
This is so cut and paste screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah, that,
They're back in commercial.
it's the exact same thing. The traffic laws, all that.
I think so too.
But we're under okay, temporary retail and display.
Approved by BOT, the entire section B.
Mhm.
Well, these are kind of like vendors at Bronx Day or something too. That's temporary.
And they're getting BOT approval.
Sure.
All right.
Okay. Temporary special
So
event.
number
So
two,
wait.
temporary special events lasting longer than 3 days shall require conditional use permit. Do we leave that? And that will be from BOT
Usually.
and adequate restroom facilities.
As
shall be
determined by the
provided.
director. The director is going to determine how
Director
adequate
of
they
what?
are.
We don't have a director.
Yeah, we do.
It's defined, unfortunately.
It's that or Becky. It's staff.
Why don't we Put Nate in.
Town
Property
Wherever it says
owner,
Director, put Nate's name.
Nate may get really sick of us at some point and not be here.
I think he's already pretty sick.
Well,
Yeah,
property owner.
Oh. Same thing.
yeah, just have a board approve it. Let's give the board
The
something.
restroom
Basically
facility.
treat as a special event permit.
All right, so we take out 2 entirely or leave those 4 points under 2?
I said, oh, are you saying just like we did for temporary retail and display, just same thing for this, strike it all out?
Yeah, and just say BOT can deal
Treat-
with it.
Treat as,
Todd, we're
Yeah.
just gonna let y'all do this whole thing.
all those things are considered by the marshal and everything.
Yeah, I'd say let's just.
So- Did we, and what about number 1,
ahead
location and
and give
access?
it
Did
all
we
to
just skip that? We take
Number
it out.
1,
yeah, we were just gonna say,
it's BOT, I think. Where's number 1? Yeah. Where is number 1? Location, it's all BOT.
So
approval,
you
that
can
entire
make,
section.
yeah, you can just put location and access, operation and ownership shall be determined,
basically approved
Application.
as special
approved
event
as special event.
by
Okay.
the,
Okay, good.
Temporary retail display is approved by BOT, temporary special event is approved by BOT.
Cool.
Bottom line,
With these attributes, whatever it is, the restrooms.
they
and
can
the-
decide all that stuff.
Right,
We're taking it out.
okay.
All right, we have reached Article 4. I have a request to go to dinner. Do we want to quit or do we want to see what we can do in the next 10 minutes?
We're at a section and it's the,
Article 4, and this is getting into our fire mitigation, I
Right,
think,
let's stop.
flood hazard. What I'd love to have, Nate, if we can have it next time, is the WUI codes. And when we start looking at this, see if we can incorporate that. Are
And
you
Nate,
able to get your hands on that pretty easy?
I don't know. Yeah.
can't anybody get those? Aren't they?
Yeah, they're online.
Yeah, I just have.
So it's the state
The wild
WUI code for
Urban
Colorado or federal?
Wildland Urban Interface.
interface.
Yeah, they're dealing with that in Colorado Springs, you know. It's quite a controversy down there too.
I think they've already passed it, but Todd,
No.
you'll bring it,
Yeah.
right?
And evacuation, you know, all the fire mitigation people are working on.
If you can get us an
It's
electronic
international.
version, that would be really helpful. And that would be appropriate as we go into this whole thing, and then maybe we can do it faster.
And we'll have to put in enforcement too.
Obviously. Yes, ma'am.
That's going to be hard.
Well,
There's some for Texas, some for California. I don't know. You'll have to figure it out. There's an international one. They're for different states. I don't know.
We don't
Todd
need
knows.
national stuff. We just do
Google
local.
it. Well, there's a bunch, here's Jeffco. There's a bunch, but I just don't know which one applies to us. So maybe
We
determine
can
that.
write, we could write our own.
and
Yeah,
David
there's
has it
several there.
too, so David's got it. Todd will send it to all of us via electronic email. And Nate, you'll have it. And we'll just try to incorporate it in our code. Next meeting, which is, we said,
August 9th.
yeah, one more thing we have to talk about before we can leave is next meeting, we will be going through our process that we agreed upon to add a member to the planning commission. Lisa has provided one of her question. I didn't want to publicize our questions because then people who watched it or whatever, they have an unfair advantage, blah, blah, blah. We're trying to be really careful with this whole thing. So I don't know that the rest of us need to know what each other's questions are. I have my question in mind and I will simply ask it. So
Well,
do y'all feel like everybody needs to know what each other's questions are? If there's repetition, you can ask a different one, but what do you think?
How many applicants have we?
I think that we should.
You
Just
think
so we
you
know, so there's no
should
repeat.
share with each other?
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
think of one just like that. It already,
Okay.
it was a while for me.
And,
to-
you know, I mean, it seems to me if we're gonna use them, that we'd ought to eliminate duplication and
Right.
make sense and put
Okay.
them in an order
Right,
that
or-
makes sense.
Right, my question might be what you're asking in a different way or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Silly, but
Okay, that's fine. My big concern was just with the sunshine laws and sharing that information with each other and other people don't see it and blah, blah, blah.
I think we're
But what we
concerned
can
about-
do is share it with Nate. And Nate can figure out how to comply with the sunshine laws to get that information to each of us. How's that, Nate?
We,
Sounds
we
good.
could just say it right now, can't we?
Well, this is a
Ah,
public
it
meeting
has to be secret.
and I want to keep it
Oh.
quiet because it's not fair to the candidates to
Alright.
hear the questions beforehand. So
well,
we can
why,
share it with each other.
why don't we just put it out there and let everybody think about it?
Well, for the reason I just said, but we do want to share it with each other and we will share it with Nate. Our process will be, we share our question with Nate. And Nate will then share it with the group, however he chooses to do that, to comply with the sunshine laws.
That's, I guess.
All right.
So basically email BCC, yay or nay, are we including this question? And then like
If anybody
Okay.
hates my question, y'all can just say,
okay.
no, Lamar, you can't ask that question. Come up with another one, I suppose.
Okay,
Or it'll be clear to all of us if we have a bunch of duplications and we can make adjustments, send it back to Nate. He can then try to compose the final list. I just don't want Nate to have to spend a bunch of time on this. So let's just be efficient as we possibly can. Is there
we-
any other business besides that? We have already, did we let our candidates know that they need to come on the 9th to be interviewed?
not yet. I still only have one application, so.
You only have one? I thought you had several. Okay, one. Okay.
Do you have anybody
And-
from?
yeah.
Nice.
Go ahead.
What's that?
Anybody applied to be an alternate yet?
No,
We have one applicant.
Just one applicant for the commission, okay?
Gosh, and I worried about being biased and we have
I'll
one applicant.
I'll advertise it again and see if we can get any more interest, but
I got the lawyers worrying us too damn much.
I couldn't agree more. All right, so unless we have something else, I'm gonna get Mike home for dinner at a reasonable hour.
Can I clarify the time of the next meeting since I was late for this one? I apologize.
I think it's 6:30, isn't it?
yeah, I think for this one, we were trying to
Okay.
start early, but
Let's
then
get more done.
dinner and
Okay,
then
great.
stuff. So
6:30.
6:30, we'll do the
Okay.
normal.
Is our
6:30.
normal time and next time is our regular normal meeting. This was an
Right.
additional meeting trying to get through this.
Because we had a conflict last night with the short-term rental meeting.
Right,
so-
right.
Right.
So in general, can we plan on every 2 weeks?
Sure.
Yes,
On a Tuesday is best for me.
So the 23rd, the 9th,
Yeah,
the
those are the
23rd.
normal, the second
normal
and
time.
fourth.
Okay,
well, yes, those are the normal, but yeah, we don't necessarily have a normal second meeting.
But if we want more work sessions for
right.
code, we can do that.
Okay,
Okay, we'll just have to see
let's get that planner.
what dates are gonna work. I'll look at this because I know I'm traveling again. But the 23rd could work for me. I think I'm not leaving. All right, so we stand adjourned.